Welcome back to the show, everyone. Now I am joined by Kamil Dziublinski. He is the CTO of Xapo Bank. Kamil, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm great, thank you.
Excellent. I'm curious, like so many questions for you, but right before we went live, we were just talking about, which is the story that we'd covered earlier, this kind of I don't even know you'd call it a blackout that happened on Friday, but it was something that was a bit of a stress for you, it seems, too. And
Yeah,
Xapo had to deal with that. Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I don't think there is any company in crypto space that wasn't affected in one way or the other. For us, the challenge was that, we work with liquidity partners to provide possibility to sell or buy Bitcoin or other assets. And like all those partners were having trouble, downtime, unavailability, or distorted pricing compared to the market. So on our side, we had to treat it as an incident. So of course, for our members, their assets were safe. That there was absolutely no problem there. The only glitch was that for around 2 hours, we had to disable trading because it was just unreliable when it comes to our partner network. So yeah, but then after around 2 hours, it all stabilized and we were like back to business. But you could see what happened in the space. Like I think it was around 20 billion liquidations or something like that.
Wow.
So massively over leveraged market and geopolitical stress. You combine that and you have a
Boom. Yeah. It seems like it.
yeah.
Crazy time for just like troubleshooting and firefighting. Like, what do you do in that moment? Obviously, you have to pause things, but do you just have to wait it out?
So we have protocols. So we are like having different scenarios for disaster recovery. So we have those protocols. When there is an incident, everybody really knows what to do. So we make sure everything is okay on our side. But then we need to pull in, for example, treasury, make sure they are okay from a financial standpoint. They can hedge the positions. So there is different steps that we follow that are normally trained almost, so to speak. We have it written out. But when the network of partners is unavailable, then you kind of still have to wait it out in a way.
Yeah. Just to give a bit of context, would you mind sort of telling us a bit about your role as CTO at Xapo Bank, kind of what you do on a day-to-day? Obviously, fighting fires when these types of things come up, you're the first point of call.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a Chief Technology Officer at Xapo Bank, and I'm responsible for all the software development. So, backend team, mobile team, infrastructure team, also the data team. And my role as a CTO is really to create a bridge between where the business wants to go and how technology can help the business get there through innovative methods, through technology and different means. So I'm this kind of person that listens to the direction of the business and then figures out how to translate it into a strategy and tactics on the technology side.
Very cool. What was your background?
So I started as a software engineer. So my background was from the backend. So I was a Java engineer back in the days, and then after some years I moved into leadership roles. First like a technical lead, then head and director of engineering, and then eventually at Xapo, actually, I moved into a CTO role, so, and have been in that for a few years now.
Interesting stuff. And what are some of the challenges that you face in this? Sorry, just to backtrack. Before we went live, you said that you were meeting with people to kind of discuss AI and how to implement that. That must be a big game changer in your area of expertise. How are you kind of just like trying things out? How do you know what to use? And
I think everybody's trying to navigate it correctly.
Yeah.
So and the space is changing so fast. So I think that's what's causing the real challenge, that there are like new tools coming constantly, and you started with generative AI. Before you got used to it, you suddenly have like agentic AI, so like AI that can actually do things, not only generate text. So we are definitely trying. We need to be a bit more cautious. We are a bank, so we cannot like just jump on every new technology. We have a cybersecurity team that needs to be comfortable with what we are using, and we have a certain environment. We created certain environment for our Zapians to use, not only engineers but also other Zapians, they can also be more efficient.
What is Zapian? Sorry.
Like people working at Xapo, that's how we call them.
That's cute.
Zapians,
Okay, I like it. Yeah.
So all our employees need to be more efficient because it's definitely an innovative technology. So we just need to make sure that we do it in a secure way, as there are no data breaches. There is no, it legally is also correct.
Right.
So there are challenges, but we are going through that. But I meet with people that are thinking about similar problems, because there is so much you have to think about. If you look, for example, 2-3 years ahead, how is that going to change? Structure of the teams, the role of engineers, because now they have this powerful tool at the hand. So yeah, it's good to listen to others, and like I can say from the morning, like many people have the same struggles and wondering about many unanswered questions. That's definitely a situation, but definitely a lot is going on there that is quite exciting and will change the world.
Is it worth going directly to the creators of this technology, and kind of, do they offer that? In the same way that Facebook ads, for example, you'll have like a representative that works with you. Like, is there a way of working directly with these companies to figure out how we can utilize this properly and safely?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they are also moving that fast. That it's actually, I don't think they have all the questions, all the answers. But definitely, if you are like a very well established company and you need to take care about security and all those things, you will approach it differently than let's say a startup that, for example, doesn't deal with financials. So they can be a bit more experimental, more innovative. We need to be a bit more careful, right? And so sometimes it means that you need to move slightly slower, but at the same time it is the risk is then also lowered with that. But going for enterprise products and going for the right tools, then that already lowers the risk. But there is also a lot that people sometimes don't even understand where the data is going, and then policy, which tools you use. We've seen a lot of breaches in the space, like even big companies like Samsung and so had like problems with data leaking because they were using some AI models that were doing that, were allowing others to access it. So yeah, we need to review it.
Be very careful.
Yeah,
that makes sense. What are some of the challenges being in this kind of crypto space and in like the traditional finance space? How do you kind of bridge those?
Yeah, I think that's where Xapo is very unique. That we are creating this bridge between what's good from the old traditional finance, because I know you would ask some Bitcoiners, they will say, banks are bad and that's all, but that's not true. We all hold money there for a reason, right? So they give a sense of security. And then there are things that are not so good about traditional finance, and we really try to merge those two worlds and really take the best out of both of them. But of course, for us and also for me as a technological leader, it creates challenges, because you need to marry the two worlds that are not always that easy to marry in the first place. So you need to be able to use different tools for different things. Even if you, for example, let's take an example, you need to make sure that you're compliant. So let's say KYC of the customer is very important. It's important that we don't allow fraudulent transactions. And then you have to deal with that differently on the crypto side and deal with that differently on the fiat side. And
why? What are the differences?
Yeah, because for example, you do it a bit differently when it comes to normal transactions going, let's say, via Swift network or from other banks. And then suddenly when you deal with blockchain technology, you need tools that know how to do that as well.
I see.
Yeah. So, and then for us, the challenge is to actually make sure that this all works together. So we need to create this kind of architecture infrastructure where we are able to use what's best for the job ahead. But yeah, there are different things based on the technology we use, and then there are similarities, because no matter if you use, let's say, dollars or Bitcoin, you always need a reliable product. You always need a product that gives good user experience, and you always need to provide features that people care about, like, for example, growing your Bitcoin and growing your dollars in a safe way.
I'm kind of skipping back. I had a question when you were sort of talking about kind of figuring out how to use everything. does your brain work, and like, do you think in code? Do you think in many steps ahead? Are you always kind of problem solving? I feel like we've got very different thinking processes that go on just just based on some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis.
I think it's very common for most or all engineers is that we often think what can go wrong. So like the edge scenarios, because this is usually how you code. You create first like a happy paths, how things work, and then you start thinking, what can go wrong? This can go wrong, and you need to make sure that you code for that. So it's very similar to when you think about planning long term, right? You think what different solutions make sense, but also what can go wrong with them, and you choose the best path.
Very interesting. Yeah. So, I there's like a lot of short-term thinkers, and it seems like you have to be kind of more long-term, and also all the possible scenarios, which I think is actually how I think. I'm always thinking about what could go wrong. Sometimes it gets a little bit too much, but it's like, mitigating things before they happen rather than reacting to something. But okay, well, that's cool. I'm not too far off an engineer. So Xapo was kind of early to adopt Lightning. What has your team learned from integrating and scaling with Lightning in a banking system?
So like with every new technology, you need to be a bit careful. Like we were talking about, like security, AI. Here it was no different. We knew we wanted to provide this to our customers, but we had to work with different partner there. So we had to, for example, we started with different set of limits so that if something goes wrong, users are not really affected. But we slowly saw traction. We saw that this thing is actually something that users want. So we were able to remove those limits. There was also certain aspect around fees that we needed to make sure that the fees remain really honest to our customers, so we did them fixed on our side in the beginning, and all those things allow us to use that new technology like layer 2 on Bitcoin to provide what users wanted, but in a careful way, in a way where we were certain that users will get the best experience, because it was innovative. So you might be surprised by some things that still need to be tweaked. But there are also other aspects where, like we were talking about KYC, here it was no different. We needed to figure out how do we do transaction monitoring, how do we make sure AML.
Yeah, how do you do that on Lightning?
So there are vendors that help us do it, but then we have also our own custom logic on how to go about that. So custom rules basically, because it's all about tooling is one thing, but then you need like compliance specialists to put the right rules. So like in this case, flag it for review, or in this case it should pass, and then if something is uncertain, then it goes to our compliance team and they review it case by case. So
Interesting. And so with people who customers of Xapo, my understanding that it's great as storage and security, and then there's products like loans against your Bitcoin and things like that. There are a lot of customers who use it like a traditional bank, and then they have a card, and I don't know that it's necessarily on a card, but they're making Lightning payments as just part of their everyday payment. Is that like a big part of the customer base, or just some people?
It's some percentage. I wouldn't say like everybody is using it.
Okay.
It's a certain percentage of our user base that use it they every day. But a lot of use cases that people come for Xapo are like, keep our Bitcoin safe. We don't want to touch it, grow it for us, because that's also, I think, what makes Xapo different, right? Because you could hold it on Ledger or any other hardware device, where if you are actually tech savvy enough and you're not afraid that something is going to happen to your money. But Xapo is not only keeping it secure, but it provides this possibility to give your Bitcoin superpowers. That's how we say it internally, because you can, like you just said, you can borrow against it, but you can also grow it in significant ways. And if you have enough Bitcoin, you might actually just live of it, really, of the yield.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. How do you ensure that security and privacy operate in this like system of traditional finance and and the blockchain. You'd mentioned KYC, you have to kind of do different checks and checking transactions and things like that are different. Are there any other considerations where you have to be mindful of those differences?
Yes, yes. So when it comes to security, there are many differences and many similarities as well. So differences are like blockchain itself is completely different. So the way we store keys, the way we sign transactions, that's totally different than fiat. And I believe we have really high grade, like we call military grade, really security with geographical
vaults and mountains and stuff.
Exactly.
It's very cool.
Bunkers
It's very James
cool
Bond.
Place. I've been there. Oh, it's exactly James Bond or Mission Impossible. I remember I went there. I was like, damn, this is like from Mission Impossible movie. And try to replicate it at home. You need millions to do that. So yeah, I'm a funny use case in this sense because before I joined Xapo, I had Bitcoin and I was keeping it on hardware wallet. And then, you know, I went into Xapo and I could see all that stuff from inside. And I was like, damn, I'm moving everything.
Yeah, I don't have this set up.
You cannot set it up on your own. And all the policies we follow and everything, this makes it really, really secure. Even secure against quantum computing, which is, you know, people worry about that. But then there are other things that are very similar with traditional finance, and it's how you secure processes in the company, right? So you need to make sure that there is like a division of responsibilities. So for example, not that one person can suddenly withdraw all the money, and that's no different if we are talking about dollars or Bitcoin. So you need to make sure that not only you secure your infrastructure so that you cannot get hacked, but you also need to make sure that, you know, people cannot get phished, or even if they get phished by malicious actors, there is enough of approval processes and other things safeguarding those things so that there is no one person making mistake and suddenly it's a huge financial loss to the company. So there are similarities for sure, and how you protect software, this is not different, right? This software is software, so you need to make sure you use the same secure policies in your software development life cycle. And so again, changes, nuance things here and there, but also a lot of similarities that we can use to both worlds.
Is there a vault for cash?
No, that's different. That's different. Yeah, yeah. So you
vault for keys, but not for cash.
Yeah, vault for keys. Yeah, because with cash you work with banks, and you know you deploy those money to generate yield in short-term investments. You know, that's not my expertise. That's probably other people could speak better about it. But yeah, it works a bit different. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, very cool. So Xapo's licensed in Gibraltar. How do you find that jurisdiction supports innovation compared to other regions like the EU and here in the UK?
Xapo, Gibraltar had a good early start, you can say, because they were fast movers in the industry. So even Joey, who is like one of our C-level executives, lawyer by profession.
You've had him on the show recently.
You had him, yeah. So he was the one that was leading that because they created a DLT, which is a digital ledger technology framework for GFSC, which is Gibraltar Financial Service Committee, and that allowed them to that allowed companies like us to actually operate legally on the crypto. So Xapo is essentially a bank and a VASP. It's like a combination of the two under one seamless user experience through the app. But those frameworks that Joey was working with others to create helped Gibraltar to be way ahead the rest of the world, right? So Xapo got the bank license, many years before other regions start to even get interested in the space. I think now some countries are trying to also develop their own versions, but yeah, I think overall, and this is why we went into that direction, is that it's just a matter of time until the whole world moves into that direction, and you will have more and more legal clarity in every country or most of countries.
Yeah, it's definitely moving an exponential speed in that direction now, sort of chugging along a little bit, and then we've seen just a
Yeah,
a
yeah.
meteoric rise in
It's
things
usually what
changing.
happens with technologies. I think it was.
Yeah.
We say we have, part of Xapo's vision is that we say that Bitcoin will do for money what internet did for information, right? So if you go back to that era, it was kind of similar, right? Like
Yeah.
there was a lot of uncertainty how to treat data, how to this and that. Now we have like all different frameworks, like GDPR and all those things that make sure that there is clarity how you treat customer data, this and that. But like in the beginning of internet, like it was like,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I think it's very similar now when it comes to blockchain,
Yeah.
even the AI space that we have been talking about. Yeah.
Absolutely, I can see those parallels. What's one feature or innovation you'd love to build at Xapo but you can't yet, either because of tech limitations or regulation that's in the way?
Yeah, I think that for a long, if you would ask me that question a year ago, I would answer the same. But now I'm proud to say that we built that feature.
Oh, nice.
And I think the coolest feature of Xapo, and I think this is what really makes us different, is ability to earn yield on your Bitcoin in a safe way, right? Because of course you could say there are other companies in the space that can provide yield on Bitcoin and even much higher yield, but without saying any names, we do know that the risk is very different there, right? But at Xapo, you can really do that in a very low risk. Of course, there is always some kind of risk involved, but the risk is very low. And the bigger challenge there, actually the challenges were on both sides. So legally, we had to really make sure that GFSC gives us the approval for a product like that. That was also a lengthy process. But we are literally now in deploying this new feature to the customers, and people are already using it. And then on the technological side, what was challenging there is that you here have to work with parties that use pretty outdated technology. So there is lack of automations, and it's even like communication via email with certain parties where lack of APIs. So that's what creates challenge in terms of how do you automate this properly. So there is still quite a lot of manual work involved there. Yeah, overall, I think, again, this is something that will slowly, we will be able to innovate that bit as well. But in terms of value to the customers, that's definitely one that I'm like, yeah, this is great, because I'm using it as well.
Do you mind breaking down sort of how that works and how it's sort of safer than alternatives?
So it's all about because the way Xapo works, if you just bring Bitcoin to us and you keep it in, I don't know, savings or vault or hot wallet, the money is not put to use, right? It's just safe with us. We keep it for you, all good. But in this product, because you are generating yield, we need to invest those funds in a way. That's simplifying, but it's about investing. And the way we work with, we handpick the parties we work with. And again, I'm not an expert on that, but the way I can understand it is that we handpick the parties we work with, and those are really, tested by us in terms of risk, and we don't trade with your Bitcoins, nothing like that. So, and that's where it's different from some other parties where I do know that, they just trade with it. That's why they are able to generate it, but generate higher yield for you. But then, of course, there is risk of actually losing value, much bigger risk. So yeah, I wouldn't invest there. But again, everybody has a different risk appetite, also based on age, right? If you're young, maybe you're okay to risk a bit more. If you are in your protect wealth phase, then that's not what you want, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Excellent. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be joined by Nick D'Amico, who is the CTO of Roxom. We'll have a CTO off. We'll be right back.
Security matters. Xapo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at xapobank.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we are joined by Nick D'Amico, who is the CTO of Roxom and Roxom TV. Nick, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Very much, doing very well.
Do you mind, for people who might not have seen previous interviews with you on the show before, maybe just to give a little bit of a breakdown of what your role entails for Roxom?
Absolutely. So my role at Roxom is CTO. So when it comes to Roxom, which is a financial company. It goes down from being the software architect, the main software architect, security engineer, systems economist as well. So it's like a balance between technology, security, and a little bit of risk management and economical management.
That is a lot of things to be juggling in your mind.
And yes, absolutely. But it's very fun. There's never a boring day. Every day is a different problem to solve. So absolutely love it.
Very cool. So you both, Camille, you're a CTO of a company that has a physical component to it, and Nick at Roxom is doing something that's, creating a Bitcoin-denominated stock exchange. Sort of less physical, but I'm curious to hear from both of you. What are some of the unique challenges that you've faced in your roles?
Camille, want to take that one first?
Yeah, sorry, I'll do that next time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm thinking which one to pick.
Yeah.
There's so many challenges when building software. I think the biggest challenge is to make if you're building a bank, and I've had some experience in other fintech company. So when you're in general dealing with financials of people, probably the biggest challenge is to make this product as reliable as possible, right? And this is very different to when you're dealing with something that it's okay to, I don't know, maybe someone would be annoyed if we lose a tweet,
Yeah, exactly.
If an email didn't arrive, slightly annoyed. But if you lose someone money, that's a different responsibility. So you build software then, and you design your architecture with that in mind, always that in mind, right? So there is a security aspect to it, but there is also the reliability aspect of making sure that all the transactions work, making sure that the wallet always shows the right balance, and those are of course things that users see, but there is a lot happening in the backend and in the architecture where you really need to think with that in mind as a first principle. So I think that's a big challenge, and then of course there's other things that you need to do, make sure that your engineers still are set up in the right way so that deliver new products to users faster and all those things. But if you ask me about one challenge, that would probably be it. Yeah,
seems like a pretty important one. Yeah, keeping people's money safe.
Exactly. Yes.
Nick, what about you?
So I like Camille's answer. It's definitely very accurate. It's a lot of responsibility. And when it comes to Roxom, I think it's similar to what happens at Xapo, where we're also making traditional finance interoperable. So it's like bridging two civilizations, a more antique civilization and the modern civilization of Bitcoin. So that's one of the big unique challenges that we have at Roxom that I think Xapo has similar ones as well. We need to do new models for risk accounting, which are traditionally in fiat currency. Now we're doing them in Bitcoin terms as well. So that's one of the most unique challenges I think we have.
Yeah, what are some of those? What has been like a way that you've combined these two systems? What has been one of the solves for that integration?
Yeah, so when it comes to Roxom, which is something that we're launching next week, we're doing financial derivatives so that you'll be able to short or long Bitcoin, so have a perpetual position on traditional assets like gold, like the S&P 500, oil, and NASDAQ as well. So that's one of the unique things that we're offering at Roxom and that are launching very soon.
Very exciting. Is there anything about Bitcoin or the technology behind it that you're aware of as CTOs, but you think most Bitcoiners either don't know or don't appreciate? Nick, can you think of anything?
Yeah, I think the off-chain complexity, like when it comes to wallets, ledgers, custody, liquidity systems, it's something that people usually don't focus on. Like self-custody solves everything, but usually when it comes to self-custody, there's a lot of engineering design behind it and complexity behind it to simplify Bitcoin to something that the layman can use. So I think Bitcoiners usually don't really take into account, for example, if you use, let's say, Ledger or let's see, Electrum, which is a more based wallet. There's a lot of brain behind it and a lot of thinking to bring Bitcoin down to the most simple iteration possible for them to be able to use in the day to day. but the complexity of those systems is still very, very interesting and very entertaining. Most of those things have open source or open sourced their projects. So reading into that is definitely very interesting. If you haven't, or if a Bitcoiner hasn't. So I think that's an interesting angle to it.
Yeah,
Good point.
I think when it comes to self-custody, and it's not only tied to Bitcoin, but I think a lot about Bitcoin and self-custody is like, I think a lot of people are not aware of how many risks are involved when it comes to self-custody, and you can do it well, but you need to have quite a lot of things to make sure that this is, if something goes wrong, you are still in a good spot, from being hacked, being phished, to even simple things like some losing your keys, or your cat eating your keys and you not having a second copy, and that hardware device breaking. So I mean, there is a lot when you actually start educating people, that they're like would say, "Oh, okay, I actually prefer for someone else to take care of it for me." So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely layers of understanding of where people are at. I think I'm pretty low on the, the kind of get the concept of it, but on the technical level of it, it seems like I constantly trying to understand it, but not quite getting there, which is frustrating because I don't think of myself as a unintelligent person. But yeah, it is. It's quite a complex system, and how everything works and integrates, and all these, how everything operates together.
Yeah, for us, it's interesting to see when we talk with potential customers, is that it's usually about not if someone wants to move something to from self-custody to to a party that the person trusts, but it's more about at which price. So let's say,
Yes.
okay, you're like at 100,000. Oh, that's fine. I can use Ledger. Million, 10 million,
Yeah.
100 million.
Yeah.
Right?
How much do you really trust yourself? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's very interesting to see that people, they're like, oh,
Is there a number that it normally ticks over where they're like,
it's
"Ooh."
different for different people.
Okay,
Yeah. And some
okay.
people are more risk averse, and others are like way sooner on this scale, and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, I actually don't want to take care of it for me. Yeah.
I guess it also depends on the percentage of your wealth that this is that you're
Exactly,
holding
exactly,
too.
right.
If it's everything, then you
Yeah.
might want to be a little bit more cautious.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's very psychological.
Yeah, it's psychological, and then there is this aspect. Okay, maybe you can take care of it, but if something happens to you, what about your kids? Will they get it automatically? So there's like a lot of nuance to that. That I think if you just think about technology, you might not necessarily think about it immediately. But yeah.
So from a technical perspective, how is being a CTO of a Bitcoin company different from a non-blockchain related software company? Yeah, Kamil?
So I think it's very different to how I answered the question where you asked me, okay, so what's different in technology versus fiat and Bitcoin? Because again, there's things that you need to know that are very specific to technology, and absolutely you need to design both security and the way you design architecture and create your software that is adjusted to something that's specific, like blockchain or Bitcoin in particular. But then there is a lot of things that you just bring that are good practices from software development angle, right? That you just need to do no matter which type of software you build, and reliable, secure software, fast speed to market, fast ability to detect when something is wrong, fast ability to detect when there are like bugs affecting customers. So all those things you apply here as well. But then if you go a bit deeper, then of course there is nuanced things that you need to know just about that particular technology and that domain as well, financial domain. Yeah.
Nick, what about you? Did you work much in kind of as a CTO in areas outside of Bitcoin? Or have you?
Yeah. Before, well, not as much in software, but yeah, in hardware. And like Camille said, there's overlaps, and it's also just basically changing the technology stack a little bit. But I think the biggest difference when it comes to being CTO of a Bitcoin denominated company is that basically failure in Bitcoin is final. There's no rollbacks when it comes to Bitcoin. If you send to the wrong wallet, or if you send to the wrong something, that's final. There's nothing to do to reverse. The company is going to have to respond for that on their end. When it comes to traditional technology, usually if there's a failure and you have backups, so you're a good company. It is reversible. So that's something that has to come into account when designing basically absolutely everything. And also when it comes to the Bitcoiner mindset, provability is around the same level as performance. So you have to be able to prove that you have the funds, that basically that you're a trustworthy company and that you'll take care of people's funds and be able to prove that as well. So I think there's those two strong ideas in Bitcoin, that failure is final and that you have to be able to prove that you're doing what you say you're doing.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. How do for the provability, is this are customers able to see the Bitcoin on the blockchain that the company has, for example? Is that
So yeah, that's something that happened after FTX that became relatively industry standard, which is proof of funds. And most reliable companies show or are able to show that they have the Bitcoin on chain and where they are in some way or form. But yeah, it's industry standard now.
interesting? But then, do you? Because I've sort of there's concerns about seeing the public keys. What does that look like for like Roxom, for example? Would you see the wallet? Have you?
For Roxom will be audited and will be basically showing reliable information that we have the funds of our customers safely.
Got it.
There's different ways of showing proof of funds. For example, large exchanges have direct links that you could go and see their hot and cold wallets where they're storing all the crypto assets of the clients. Usually, most companies are over collateralized, so they end up having more than what they should have, which is positive. Yeah, in some way or form, most, if not all, reliable blockchain and crypto companies show their proof of funds.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because I wonder whether, like, if you've got somewhere that's like, look, we have everything right here, whether that makes the company a target. Like, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. In one way, you want customers to know that, yeah, we have it, but then also you're like, hey, look at
Well, yeah,
this.
Bitcoin and crypto companies are all targets. Security is definitely something that we have to take very highly into account, not just technological security, but operational security when it comes to employees, everyone on the team. Because, like I said before, all of this is irreversible. So if they manage to steal the funds, they stole the funds.
Right.
So security is definitely one of
The
the highest
number one
priorities.
concern, yeah.
Yeah, when it
Yeah.
comes to the technology aspect of the companies.
And that's hard. That's actually easier to do. Fish people like for information, and that's what we saw recently in a hack that was recently that happened to one of the exchanges, and that's the biggest threat, really, attacking different employees and making sure that your processes are set in a way where not single person can
Right.
create financial distress to the company and also to the users, because reputation is on the line, and then usually company's life is also at the line. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading that part of the hacking technique is now sort of bribing employees for their accessibility, login information and things like that, which is crazy. And then people are going along with it.
Yeah, exactly. And one way is bribing, other way is just tricking
Phishing.
them,
Yeah.
and they just don't even know that they are doing something wrong. But
Yeah.
it then ends up pretty badly. Yeah.
A couple of things. So what Nick was saying, how does Xapo do the, I forget the proofability, I think that was the term that you used.
Very similar to Roxom. So we are audited by one of the big fours companies, KPMG, and then we also have, in those audit reports, they check if we have the funds, if the funds are actually segregated, if the users' funds are actually segregated for our own funds. That because of course, as a company, we also invest, so that's not different. And then some companies do it like Nick said, right? They just provide a public link. That's something that we are not doing, not at the moment, but. Yeah, the process is actually quite strict. So we are audited on all the aspects: financial, technological, security, processes, and all of that is pretty strict. to when you have a banking license, it's actually quite strict. So of course it adds work for us internally to make sure that we adhere to all those, because it requires documentation. You need to prove all of that.
This is an annual thing that happens?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
that's
annual,
a lot,
yeah.
yeah. Do you get a score?
Yeah, you get a score and
Okay.
you get findings, and then you need to correct the
okay.
findings. And
It's like being at school.
yeah, it's been like school. Exactly, just
Good
much more
job,
serious.
Or be better, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, with a lot on the line.
Yeah, a lot on the line, yeah.
Looking ahead, what kind of innovations in the space excite you most in the, say, next 5 years? Nick?
Mine's going to be a little bit egocentric, but what excites me over the next 5 years in Bitcoin is basically Bitcoin becoming a global settlement layer, not just for crypto, which it already is, but for traditional capital markets. So it's exactly what we're building at Roxom. And basically, it's Bitcoin absorbing the best of finance, not replacing it. So basically, since Bitcoin started, it was, in my opinion, designed as a perfect store of value. So over the next 5 years, we'll start seeing how to make more value out of that value with Bitcoin.
That is exciting. And Camille?
I mean, it's a difficult one because I'm also very, true believer of Bitcoin and crypto space overall. But for me, when it comes to innovation, I would put my bet right now on AI in terms of excitement, because that thing is also flipping the technology space upside down.
Yeah.
And affecting everything, right? Affecting all of us in different ways, affecting job markets, all of that. I do like to believe that this will be going in the right direction. Of course, there's a lot of concerns there, but I also do believe that blockchain will be very closely connected, blockchain technology and Bitcoin, because even if those AIs can become more and more autonomous, and we want to hand over some kind of autonomy to them, they will probably use that as a settlement layer and payment between themselves, so to speak, those agents. So I think without blockchain, that would be much more difficult to set up, but AI connected with blockchain possibilities, I think it opens up a lot of interesting scenarios. But yeah, very exciting. We're very fast. This is changing in a very fast way.
Yeah, that's a
space,
good point. Nick, what's your thoughts about the integration of AI and blockchain and Bitcoin technology?
Well, when it comes to AI, my mind is blown absolutely every day at the speed that we're advancing. I can't remember my life before AI tools becoming available. So from ChatGPT to Perplexity to basically all the tools available, I think it's going to well, it's already launching the speed of deployment for companies. I think softwares as a service are becoming something basically of the past. Companies are able to make their own internal tools quickly. And when it comes to blockchain, we're going to see the same amount of innovation thanks to AI as that we're seeing in any other aspect of life that we're seeing with AI as well. So yeah, it's super exciting. And I think it completely, once it's deployed in companies and seeing the effects, it's something that's night and day, and that is just going to accelerate more and more in terms of quality, in terms of speed, in terms of basically any aspect that the company is applying it in. So yeah, super excited for that as well.
Yeah, things are going to be very different in 5 years. Like probably so much so that we can't even comprehend right now. I'm partly terrified. I like you guys' optimism. I'm hoping that it's for the best, but it is. It's like a potentially a runaway train, but also the possibilities are incredibly
they are
exciting.
endless. Yeah, but I think none of us here and outside the room as well have an idea what we will see in 5 years, because it's just so hard to comprehend. And this is like AI are training AIs now, right? Models are training models, so they're just like really picking up pace. So yeah, very interesting.
Indeed. Well, thank you both. This has been fantastic speaking with you. Nick, where can people find out more about you, follow you, check out? I was gonna say, yeah.
I'm not too active on social media, but on Twitter, I'm Nick D'Amico. I sometimes tweet from there. I'll probably be tweeting more and more, but there. And then Roxom.com. Keep checking it out.
Excellent. And Camille, what about you?
Oh, I'm also not very active on social media, but the one that I put the most energy in is LinkedIn. So there,
Okay.
probably my profile is the most complete. So Kamil Dziublinski simply on LinkedIn, and you'll find me at Xapo. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. That's all we have time for today. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. See you then.